do I really need a cybersecurity plan? And so we're going to look at a few costs associated with not having a cybersecurity plan, and then we're going to kind of draw that conclusion. So as we're getting into these costs, it's important to note that over 60% of all cybersecurity attacks are targeted at small businesses. So we hear about the large companies, the Target hacks, and we hear about the Facebook hacks and things of that nature. But over 60% are for small businesses. And the majority of the time, they don't even know that they've been hacked, or they're not aware of it until it is way too late. And of that 60%, over 60% of those same small businesses are non-existent within 6 months, of a data breach. So now let's look at the cost. In addition to the fact that there's this really crazy, like we could just be out of business, let's look at a couple of the costs. So the average cost per record. So first, a data breach is any kind of compromise or access to some kind of sensitive data, whether it's for a customer, employee, or for yourself, proprietary knowledge that occurs without authorization. So that would be a data breach. And a record would be an instance of that data. So let's say that an email address, phone number, these are sensitive pieces of data. So basically, this is saying for the cost of retrieving, repairing, fixing on average of each email that's lost, of each phone number that's lost, ends up being about $225 on average. And then you're looking at the entire cost being on average $7.35 million. Now, how do we get to these numbers? So, of course, we're thinking, okay, we lost this email address, we lost this phone number. How did it get to be $225? How do we get to $7.35 million? It comes to what happens in terms of recovery. So once you have actually had a data breach, there are certain steps that you have to take in order to kind of get back on par. So you're looking at, as you see at the bottom there, the average loss of business ends up being about $4 million. And that's, of course, across the entire country. That might not necessarily be for your business. When it comes to your particular business, again, it can end up being somewhere between $80,000 to $100 and something thousand for that breach. And so you have to think, okay, am I making enough money as a small business owner where I can afford that kind of loss? The other thing you have to look at, in addition to the lost business or the cost of repairs that you have to notify everyone. You have the legal fees that may come. You don't know if someone is going to sue you. So you have a lot of these other costs that end up being associated with more than you just paying someone to come in and fix your problem. Then you also have to pay someone to come in and fix your problem. And so all of these different things add up. So let's look at the top 3 causes of data breach. There's malicious or criminal attack. So you have a hacker who's broken into the system. That's about 52%. 24%, almost a quarter of all data breaches come from negligent employees. I know that we saw a little while ago, there was a hack of that credit bureau, and the hack was very simple. The reason that hack occurred was because someone who was high up had an administrative password with the username admin with the password admin, which is textbook out of the box horrible. But these types of breaches occur because people are reusing their passwords. They're forgetting to update their passwords. They're using extremely simple passwords. Just employees are not being as diligent. I think same happened with reputable cybersecurity firm as well. I don't believe it was PwC. I think it was someone else, another one of their competitors. But they also had a breach in which someone was using an extremely simple password, which is a huge no-no. And to know that they are cyber professionals and they are doing analysis on all of these other companies and helping them stay secure shows that it can happen among even the best, brightest, and most, I guess, and the most careful, even they can be negligent at times, and this can cause a huge loss. And then you have system glitches. This can come from failing to update patches. This can come from failing to make sure that you're using the latest software that's available. Granted, you can't go out every time an upgrade comes or a new version comes out, but making sure that you're not using some software as the foundation that's 20 years old without making sure that you definitely have those patches in place, or that you have some proprietary or custom software that is checking regularly. These kinds of things cause massive, massive loss.